When I hit that send button, I didn't know what was going to happen. The recipient was an email address that I'd found on a mysterious YouTube channel, known as 312. This channel had been uploading videos for over a decade, and they contained a mysterious code known as trinary.
1, 2, 3, 1, 6, 3, 2, 4, 5, 0.
But the code had finally been cracked, revealing that these videos had missions for us to solve. I was unable to do some of them, such as picking up a briefcase on a train in Tokyo. But a different video had a mission that I could actually accomplish. More people wanted. If you can read this, message at gmail.com. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out my previous video. What you're about to see won't make sense without it. This is a mystery that has been running for over a decade, and we're barely scratching the surface. But now, I was no longer a passive observer. I had entangled myself to the mystery, sending a message to the channel. And just a few minutes after I hit send, I received a response. What did they say? What would be my next mission? Oh. I received an automated message bluntly informing me that the email did not exist. Perhaps I'd made an error in my analysis. Maybe my understanding of the code was incomplete, something was wrong with the decryption process. But as I struggled to figure out where I'd gone wrong, I began to realize that there was a far more likely scenario, that I was too late. The video containing the encoded email was broadcast over a decade ago. Surely the mission had been completed by someone else. But even if so, that could not be the only one. In my previous analysis video, I covered the first 22 videos on the mysterious test radio channel. However, the channel has uploaded far more than that, and is still active to this day. Even though my email didn't go through, I was certain that there was more to find. So let's continue onwards with the following video, uploaded on October 12, 2014. The title is encoded, but we can decrypt it to read map. This is the first video on the channel with no audio whatsoever. There's a very low resolution view that seems to be zooming out, like a picture from an airplane or a satellite. On top of this is another code. There are 2 rows, each with a trinary code label. This decodes to X and Y. These must be coordinates, which is confirmed by the description. However, this is a brand new code, one which uses letters A through F instead of numbers. There are virtually limitless ways that coordinates could be encoded here. Realistically, we're going to need some sort of clue to help us figure out where to start. Fortunately, there is one to find. There's a previous video called Traveling, which is logically related to map. The description of this video has an interesting phrase. From A to B, delete C. Our coordinate code has letters A, B, and C. This may be an instruction about what to do with them. From A to B seems to suggest that A should turn into B's, so I replaced each A with a B. Then I deleted C, removing each of the letters. This leaves us with a clean set of coordinates. There are a few different ways to continue. One option would be to use a base 6 system, with A equals 0, B equals 1, up to F equals 5. But doing this doesn't work. The coordinates are way too big to represent latitude and longitude. We will have to try something else. So instead, what if it's a base 4 system using the letters that remain, B, D, E, and F? This reveals coordinates that are actually valid. 50.329 degrees north, 4.313 degrees east. It points to a farm in rural Belgium, near a town called, oh boy, Thuin? Je ne parle pas français. But how do we know if we got this right? Well, presumably, it should match up with the landscape shown in the video. Unfortunately, the quality is so low that it's difficult to say for sure if this works. We can see the same broad contours of the roads, but I can't confidently say that it's the same. If you can come up with a different decryption scheme that's more obviously correct, please let me know in the comments. Even if this location is accurate, the meaning is not obvious. It's very far from Tokyo. A train certainly does not connect these 2 places. For now, we'll have to keep this clue in the back of our minds and continue onwards. What followed was a 10-month gap between videos, broken on September 9th, 2015. This is a short video called Count.
I will count them. 2 flowers. 1, 2, 1, 6.
This is Count Von Count from the television show Sesame Street. The Count, well, counts, although it's not always easy to tell what number he's saying. The segment is from Season 4, Episode 33, originally broadcast on December 20th, 1972. By comparing the audio to the original, we can easily transcribe the correct numbers. Decrypting them reveals the following: kill. This is a bit unsettling, especially coming from a Muppet, but it does connect to the recurring theme in this series of death. There's an indirect connection as well. Count Von Count is a vampire, which means that he is undead, feeding on the vital essence of the living. This also aligns with another theme that we identified last time, references to broadcast media. Since Sesame Street is a television show, this is yet another. The next video is short and odd. The title is Soon. It's only 6 seconds long, and for some unknown reason, it's age restricted. That's it. If there's something objectionable there, I don't know what it is. The number on the screen also decodes to soon. The description tells us to please stand by. But unfortunately, viewers had to stand by for a while, as the channel went dark again for about 6 months. Then, on April 1st, 2016, a video was released called Trinary Update.
3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 4, 3, 1.
We are once again watching the news. This time, it's a much more complex segment, with tons of codes and details to find. Numbers scroll along the bottom, and Anchor talks about a blue box. There are teal VHS screens with symbols. We see another matrix code at the end. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's work through it step by step. The big red numbers again decrypt to news. The numbers scrolling at the bottom of the screen repeat themselves, and these say, Trinary updated to 2014 standard. The spoken numbers decode to update, and the first blue box says, Trinary updated. Clearly, the trinary number code we've been using is about to change, and we see more information in the next few screens. The first says 2014 update trinary numerals. The column on the left shows the old numerals, with the right showing the new, but we are only given numbers 0 through 2. We'll have to think about this in more detail to understand the updated cipher. In my last video, we discovered that the numerals were essentially a base 3 system. However, trinary code has a rule that squishes some numbers together, so this fact is obscured a little bit. Looking at the unsquished version, we can see that the pattern looks similar to the new code. Instead of 8 being at the end, it goes between the 2 digits. By extending this base 3 system, we can easily generate the key for the rest of the new numerals. But things get more interesting on the next slide, where we are told that this is the 2014 update for symbols. There are 5 different columns with various special characters beneath. The title of each column appears to define the associated digits, where stars should presumably be replaced with numbers. Though, what about that Japanese symbol? This is known as the iteration mark, and it's a shorthand way to duplicate the previous character. So in the first column, that means periods, question marks, and exclamation marks have a duplicated digit followed by a 7. The most logical guess is that it goes in order: 117, 227, 337. However, trinary code has a rule called the squishing rule. Double 1s become 4, double 2s 5, and double 3s 6. By applying the squishing rule, we can finish the codes for these 3 punctuation marks. We can check our work by returning to some previous codes. 47 is in fact the period. It's seen commonly at the end of phrases, including "This is test radio" in the channel banner. We can also confirm that 57 is the question mark. The numbers in the video evil decode to an obvious question: is this the face of evil? It ends in 57. The exclamation mark is rarer, but we do see it in the description of the hypnosis video. It tells us to obey. Now, let's examine the second column, 2 digits followed by a 7. Once again, we will count upwards in base 3. 117 is already used, so we'll start with 127, followed by 217. 227 is also in use, so we'll continue with 237 and 317. We can apply the same process to the rest of the columns, utilizing the iteration mark as before. This gives us the trinary code for a wide range of symbols. But we're about to get a much broader set of possibilities, as the next slide contains new Unicode. Unicode is one way that computers store text. Every possible character has a unique identifier, known as a code point. There's a huge variety of options, from ancient cuneiform symbols to mathematical notation to emojis. Having a way to decrypt Unicode would make the possibilities virtually endless. The video includes 3 examples: the euro symbol, the sparkling heart emoji, and the ghost emoji. The process is pretty simple. Take the hex Unicode code point, remove the U+ prefix, and encode it using the new trinary code. Then add 791 to the beginning and end. Finally, apply the squishing rule if needed. By following these steps, any possible Unicode character can be encrypted in trinary code. This also closes the loop in a different way. We now know what the elusive 9-digit means. It indicates that there's Unicode to decrypt. The final teal screen tells us to please update our encoders, which we will gladly do. Yet we still aren't done with this video. A shot at the end has another matrix code. This time it's not just a single row, but a box. However, decoding this is pretty straightforward. All we have to do is split it into rows that are 4 blocks high, read it line by line, and then decrypt it using our key. Once we convert the trinary digits, the message is revealed. In other news, trinary matrix codes will be used more frequently from now on. There is one more little detail that's interesting. This video was released in 2016, yet the trinary update has the year of 2014. This seems to suggest that the new code has already been in use for a while. And we suddenly realize that this could be the reason that the email I sent didn't work. What if I decrypted the video numbers using the wrong key? What if it's actually using the new version of trinary? So I returned to the news video and decrypted the final numbers again, this time using our updated decoders. This produced a completely different email. Like before, I pasted my encoded message. I can read the text. I await further instructions. Then I clicked send. This time, the email went through. I did not receive a failed to deliver notice. It worked. All I could do now was wait. After just a few hours, I got a response. Thank you for your interest. This offer has expired. Please stand by and listen to radio. I was too late. The offer had expired. Which does make sense. This was from a video that was 11 years old. But the fact that I got a response at all was a huge deal, because it showed that the email was still being monitored. While this specific mission had expired, surely they were expecting others. And of course, Test Radio's response did have a command of its own, to stand by and listen to radio. So that's what we are going to do. Let's continue onwards with the next video. It was uploaded on April 8th, 2016, and it's entitled Sleep. The description decodes to something rather odd. Unconscious activates. This initially seems as though it's a typo, but I think it's possible that this is intentional. The video was very unsettling. It shows several people sleeping, suspended at various strange angles. This is footage from inside of a space shuttle. Specifically, it's from a 1985 IMAX documentary called The Dream is Alive. 8 seconds into the video, there's some sudden static. We have another matrix code. By rotating it 90 degrees to the left, we can translate it into trinary numbers, and then decrypt it into text. Sleep is for the weak. Keep eyes open at all times. Visuals are now activated. Interestingly, the following video sharply contrasts with this command. It is entitled Darkness. As we'd expect, the footage is very dark. It seems to be taken from a handheld camera. We hear a rustling sound and some harsh mechanical noises. The frame shifts to look at something, maybe a railing. But even if we adjust the colors, nothing is obvious. The description is intriguing. The is only darkness. Oh, and also monsters. This is the second consecutive video with an apparent typo. Darkness was released on July 12, 2016, and while people didn't know it at the time, the name was a prophecy, for the test radio channel was about to enter a dark age. There would be no new videos for over 4 years. The test radio was silent, and many believed that the 20th test was the final one. Let's take a step back for a moment. When looking at the test radio channel as a whole, we can see that the videos are not released consistently. Instead, they can be grouped into several broad phases which share certain characteristics. Darkness represents the end of Phase 1, which lasted from 2012 to 2016. Phase 1 videos have certain overarching connections. The primary codes of test radio are introduced, including trinary code, matrix codes, and mojibake. Every video in Phase 1 also has tags, indicating that they are numbered tests. There are a few exceptions. The remastered videos contain the tags of videos that are remastered. There are also the X tests. Message, phone call, and news are tests X, X2, and X3. Trinary update exists outside of everything else, as test news. But now, it's time for a major gap between videos. 4 years, 5 months, 21 days, 52 minutes, and 24 seconds. And on January 3rd, 2021, the silence was broken. This thrust the channel into a brand new era, which I call Phase 2. The video itself is a teaser. It's called Coming Up Next. And for the first time, we see a literal videotape, a VHS rotating in 3D. The tape itself has numbers scrolling on it, and there are many more in the background of the video. These are quite difficult to transcribe, and my efforts are clearly at least somewhat inaccurate. However, it's close enough that we can guess what it's supposed to say. We'll be right back after these messages. Now, let's look at the rest of the video information. The tags indicate that this is another test. Test 21 VHS coming up next. The description says, reconnection established, follow radio. The command to follow the radio is notable. It suggests that we need to go somewhere to see where the radio is leading us. And as it turns out, the radio began broadcasting from a different source, because on the very same day, a test radio account was created on Twitter, and 16 minutes after the release of the video, the account made a tweet. Alternative radio, connection established. 1 minute later, follow radio in parallel through kaleidoscope. It is, of course, possible that this account is fake, but the timing is extremely precise. The YouTube channel goes dark for over 4 years, then is suddenly active again. Then, a Twitter account posts just a few minutes after the video. While there is no direct link to the full channel, this would have to be the work of a very dedicated and very patient faker. The command is clear. We should be following this account as a parallel radio. However, the next transmission was back on the main channel, entitled Go. The description once again instructs us to follow radio. The video appears to be on VHS. These are the contents of the tape that we saw in the previous video. There are several different faces that morph and change into one another. The audio has more numbers, this time in French. They are very difficult to transcribe, but some people on my Discord were able to figure it out. The message decrypts to, vaccine secured, missions are go. This text is very interesting. The idea of missions has been around since the beginning. The very first video on the channel is called Mission Start, but the meaning of the vaccine comment is unknown. Later on that same day, the Twitter account was active again, but this time it was replying to a tweet from a different account, a tweet which was also reposted. The reply was control permitted, suggesting that the second account was legitimate too. The profile looks very similar in style to the first. The handle decrypts to CTRL. The name is once again in Chinese. These are a sequence of numbers. Decoding them reveals the text "Radio Control." The account also has a bio, once again a sequence of Chinese numerals. "This is Test Control," the same phrase as in the matrix code on the channel banner. But perhaps the most intriguing part of this is the logo, an upside-down triangle with an empty circle in the middle. The top has another matrix code, which decrypts to "Radio Control." This account is obviously the one that is controlling the tests, although the specifics of this are not clear. The post that the main account was responding to is again Chinese numbers. These decrypt to "Control Established." But oddly enough, this is the last post from either of these accounts. There's nothing else. Nonetheless, this interaction holds a clue that we will return to soon. 1 week later, another video was released, called Skylie. The description says that "the hunt is on." The video shows a smoky skyline, and there are numbers that rise from the bottom. These numbers decode to "City of Smoke, Treasured Buildings." The audio has a prominent beeping sound, and we can see it when we look at the spectrogram, a chart that shows how frequencies change over time. It appears as though there's something that is intentional, several boxes within the first few seconds. It almost looks like it could be a matrix code, but it doesn't quite line up. There are 5 possible rows instead of 4. I have not been able to figure out what this means. If you can come up with something, please let me know. In the following video, we see a return to an old code, Moji Bake. Decoding the title reveals more Chinese, which is translated into 1851 Remastered. But this remastered video is different from the others. Previous remasters had titles and tags that reference different videos, but this one references itself. The code in the title decrypts to 24, and the tags say "Test 24 Footage." Furthermore, there is no description, meaning no date and no link to the original video. What is similar, though, is the high degree of digital distortion. The video itself is fairly long, clocking in at 3 minutes and 44 seconds. It appears to show footage from a handheld camera at night. We're walking along the road. We can even see the handicap parking spot a couple of seconds in. There are squeaking sounds, like that of a gate or a swing, and lights are visible in the distance. At 1 minute and 12 seconds, the audio suddenly changes, with a deep rumbling sound and a higher hissing. We can see streetlights as we walk along the road. Then, at 2:06, the rumble is gone. There's a repetitive mechanical sound like that of a train. The camera begins to shake more as if the person recording is running. A vocal sound fades in. Then, darkness. The next video is entitled Signal. The description reads, "Found lost." We see a monochrome CGI sphere with latitude and longitude lines visible. Concentric circles emanate from different points, accompanied by slight static sounds. At the top left is a short number, with part of it hidden in the darkness. This, once again, reads Signal, assuming that the obscured parts are the same as the title. The following video is called Peeps. It has a vertical aspect ratio, and it is extremely distorted. The audio is musical. It's from a work called Everywhere at the End of Time. This album is particularly unique. It's a 6.5-hour journey that's intended to represent an Alzheimer patient's progressive deterioration. It's worth listening to at least once in your life. Pick a day and experience the whole thing in one sitting. The video references a section from the final stage called Advanced Plaque Entanglement. The video aligns with the themes of deterioration and flashes of memories. While it's mostly noise, there are occasionally a few images that are visible. A couple of shots seem to show a woman. At 45 seconds, we get a clearer view of 2 people sitting next to each other. They flash in and out a few times as the video continues. The background also contains an image of the Mandelbrot set, which is one of the most famous fractals. It has infinite detail. No matter how far you zoom in, there's always more to find. Other sections do seem to show meaningful images, such as at 104, where we see a few straight lines, but the deterioration is so intense that I can't resolve anything specifically. Appropriately, the description reads, "Connection loss." 1 week later, a video called Transfer was released. There are a variety of different boats at night. First a large ship, then several smaller ones. There's a canoe with one of the passengers looking up at the camera. Then at 1:21, there's an American astronaut with his eyes closed. There is no visible mission patch, but the design of the suit makes me think that it could be from one of the Apollo missions. The transfer video represents the end of Phase 2, the shortest of the 4 phases. Phase 2 had 7 videos, tests 21 through 27. In fact, transfer is the final numbered test. As of 2025, no videos in any future phases have any tags. After Transfer's release, Test Radio would go silent for nearly 3 years. Then, in late 2023, Test Radio was activated again with a video called Information. This is the beginning of Phase 3, and the description tells us more about it. Greetings testers old and new. The times of sickness are over. New seasons of tests are starting. Clues will drop on the 1. Continue reporting to control. Radio is now physical. Winners will not be eliminated. Good luck. Phase 3 is different from the others. All of these videos share some important features. They have no tags, which means that they are not numbered tests. With just a couple of exceptions, every Phase 3 video was released on the first day of the month, from January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2025. This is what is meant by "clues will drop on the 1." Videos in Phase 3 also have a different style from earlier footage. They tend to be much longer. Visuals are more on the abstract side, with fewer direct references to existing media. Codes are also seen in these videos much more sporadically. The information description has some additional intriguing text. It instructs us to continue reporting to Control. As we learned previously, Control is the Twitter account with the triangular logo. We will need to send our reports there, whatever that means. The description also says that the radio is now physical. It's not completely clear what this means. Is it indicating that there is a literal radio broadcast somewhere? It could also be referencing that there will be more tasks to do in real life. Finally, it says that winners will not be eliminated. This is a very mysterious statement. Is this suggesting that those who don't win will be eliminated? What does it even mean to win? For the moment, these questions will remain unanswered, but we'll keep them in our minds as we continue. So let's look at the first clue that was released on January 1st, 2024, entitled Alone. We see a screen with fluctuating purple dots. This is a vector scope, a tool that displays the relationship between 2 different signals. In this case, we are seeing the left and right channel of the audio. The sound itself is haunting, especially if you know what it is. This is the bird call of the Hawaiian kawaii-o'o bird. It's calling out to find a mate, singing its half of a duet. He's waiting for the female to sing her part. But there's no response, and that's because there are no other kawaii-o'o birds. He is the last one of his species, more alone than he could ever realize. The kawaii-o'o birds went extinct in 1987. This is a recording of the final one. There's a reflection in the screen. It seems humanoid, although it's unmoving. Perhaps it's a spacesuit. There is a direct connection to space in the next video, called Launch. The description says, "Observe launch trajectory alpha, T plus decade, now actual." This is, in fact, a launch, that of a space shuttle. The camera is attached to one of the boosters. At 1 minute and 12 seconds, the depleted rocket is released, and we watch as it begins to fall back to Earth. Then, at 2:24, we hear a radio. 132-152. A man reads out several numbers, though they don't decode properly. 2 minutes later, the parachute is deployed, and the booster splashes down into the ocean soon thereafter. Then we hear people on the radio once more.
Roger, main be undervolt. Okay, stand by 13, we're looking at it.
This is audio from the Apollo 13 mission, not from a space shuttle launch. In 1970, NASA attempted their third moon landing mission, but there was a major issue. An oxygen tank exploded 2 days into the flight, resulting in the famous line, "Houston, we've had a problem." Returning the crew home safely was an extremely difficult achievement that was a masterclass in crisis engineering, and it remains among NASA's greatest accomplishments. This video is one of a growing number of connections to spaceflight. Some are fictional, such as the alien Canamits in Message, but others are real, like the satellite imagery in Map, or the astronaut in Transfer. We've even had a direct connection to space shuttles, with the astronaut sleeping in Sleep. March's video is very short. It's called Visage, and it shows a 3D rotating mask in a bunch of color. I wasn't able to find any codes here. The description reads, Ghost. The next video is called Resurrected Affection, and the description appropriately reads, Zombie Love. Once again, there's not much to find in the video itself. We see liquid with colorful shapes beneath. However, there are a few interesting nuggets in the audio. If we speed it up 10 times, we can hear two things. First, there's some sort of music. Second, there are spoken words with the same cadence as counting, but they're very hard to make out, and it sounds to me as if they're not in English. If anybody recognizes these, please let me know. Zombie Love is a connection to the Love video from Phase 1. It's also similar to Ghost in the previous video. Zombies and ghosts are both ways for a dead being to remain animated. The following video is called Phenomenon. Let's take a look. Did you catch it? That's right, we have the Radio Control logo again, the circle with the triangle in it. This confirms that the Radio Control Twitter account is legitimate. We are seeing the same image on the official channel. It's alongside the Test Radio logo on the bottom right. We can also see people moving around, but once again it's very difficult to make out. The description offers something intriguing.
Spukhafte Fernwirkung.
The mind is often understood as a faculty that manifests itself in mental phenomena. The first two words are in German, and they're written by someone very famous. This is a quote from Albert Einstein from a 1947 letter to Niels Bohr. Translated, it reads as follows. I cannot seriously believe in it because the theory cannot be reconciled with the idea that physics should represent a reality in time and space, free from spooky action at a distance. So what is this spooky action? Well, it's from a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. A subject that I've been waiting for years to discuss on this channel. Einstein was talking about quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is the study of things that are very, very small, far smaller than anything we interact with on a daily basis. When things become this tiny, the rules begin to change, often in ways that are unintuitive or unexpected. The way that I like to explain this is using a simple coin. Let's say that I flip a coin, catch it, and cover it with my hand. I don't know if the coin is heads or tails since I haven't looked at it. Of course, I can choose to reveal it whenever I want by lifting my hand, showing me the coin. But whether or not I choose to look doesn't change the result of the flip. It's either heads or tails. It's not going to suddenly flip again in my hand. However, let's say that I had a quantum coin. I flip this coin and cover it up. The quantum coin works in a different way. Unlike a regular coin, it isn't actually heads or tails. When it's covered up, it's both at the same time, heads and tails simultaneously. And here's the really odd thing. The coin doesn't become heads or tails until I observe it. Revealing the coin is what causes it to switch to one of the two possibilities. This process is known as wave function collapse. If I flipped a quantum coin and never looked at it, the coin could remain in both states indefinitely. This is known as superposition. However, we can do something even cooler if we have two quantum coins. If we flip them in a very specific way, our two coins can exist in a shared superposition. They are linked to one another. If I look at coin A and read it as heads, then coin B will always be tails. Let's repeat the experiment, flipping our two coins again. This time, we observe coin B and see that it is heads. That means coin A has to be tails. When these two coins are connected and then flipped, they will always be the opposite of each other when observed. This phenomenon is called quantum entanglement. This is what Einstein was referring to by spooky action at a distance. Somehow, the result of coin A and coin B are connected. So why is this spooky? Well, one of the reasons is that the distance between the two coins is completely irrelevant. One coin could be in, say, Dolinga, China, and the other coin could be in Lijiang, 1,200 kilometers away. If the coin in Dolinga was heads, the coin in Lijiang would be tails. Why did I pick these two places? Well, because in 2017, scientists actually accomplished this in real life, using a satellite to entangle two photons over 700 miles apart from one another. And just as they expected, when one photon was heads, the other was tails. The huge distance between the entangled particles didn't matter at all. The idea of entanglement really bothered Einstein, hence his phrase, spooky action at a distance. In 1935, he famously proclaimed that quantum theory had to be incomplete. He could not figure out how the coins could be connected across such distances. This is known as the EPR paradox. The description of this video relates quantum entanglement to the mind. However, we need to be careful when we see stuff like this. Quantum theory is a scientific framework with a strong foundation of experimental evidence. But some people have misunderstood or misused its concepts, applying them to things like consciousness, spirituality, or other mystical properties. Although they use scientific language, these ideas should not be treated as scientific fact. For now, it isn't obvious how quantum entanglement relates to what we've seen. I don't see any clear quantum connections in the video itself. The following video is short, and it's called Waves. We see an eye with a liquidy effect on it. This video has no codes, and there is no description. The next video is Biosphere, released on June 1st, 2024. The description says, everything. The biosphere is the worldwide combination of all ecosystems, the complete collection of life on Earth. However, the visuals don't obviously connect to this meaning. Instead, they appear to be abstract. The audio does have one interesting component, a shepherd tone. This is an auditory illusion that sounds like the pitch is going downward forever, but it never reaches the bottom. But things are about to get more interesting. The next video is called Phases of Faces.
1, 3, 5, 6, 1, 5, 1, 5.
We see a sequence of several different faces. A woman with black hair, a man on a phone, a blonde girl, a different woman in a lake, and a brunette girl with a rabbit. Each of these faces is distorted in various ways, and the sequence repeats several times.
0, 3, 1, 2,
The first woman speaks a sequence of numbers. These decode to 5-3, which would be the letter O in trinary.
4-5-4-5.
It's very hard to tell what the man on the phone is saying. I've included a few options here, but none of them decode to anything useful. This could be the man that we heard in the phone call video.
4-5-4-5. Okay, it's you again. What do you want?
The voice is similar enough that I think a connection is possible. Then the first child with a rabbit. Some people on my Discord server identified that these are French numbers. They decode to the text 1-2, although this does not have any direct trinary decryption. Finally, there are more audible numbers when the woman enters the lake.
1-3-1-8-1-6-35-5-0.
Once again, these are very hard to decipher. Here's the best that I could come up with. A potential interpretation is key is 7 5s. With the possible exception of the man, we have not obviously seen any of these characters before. The next video is entitled Strings. The description reads, "Everything, everywhere." The VHS distortion is heavy. We can see what appears to be tree branches, but the context is obscured. At 1:48, there's a rabbit that is flipped upside down. This is a clear connection to the previous video where 2 children were seen with rabbits, but the meaning is unknown. There's something to find in the audio, and we can see it when we look at the spectrogram. Around 2 minutes into the video, there's a big gap. The shape of it has to be intentional, but it doesn't look like any of the codes we've seen before. For now, this is a mystery that remains unsolved. The following video is called Inner Flames, and the description says, "Icy hot." Once again, the visuals are somewhat abstract and vague. In the audio, we hear large airy sounds alongside the crackle of fire. This video connects to the Flames video, which had a rotating wireframe skull. This video is called Unclosed Circuit. We see a black and white representation of cars and motorcycles driving along an urban road. The views are from the top down, although I'm not sure what city this is. The description says the following. Drivera Wind KNYPL is think backwards. As with many of the Phase 3 videos, the meaning remains enigmatic. There are fewer logical connections to find than the other phases. The November video was entitled Night Ride. It continues with the idea of cars, but this time from up close. There are several different vehicles, including motorcycles. Some shots are from the side, some are top down, and some are from within the car. Each shot has a dominant color. This appears to be footage of a real place. In fact, at 2:45, we can see a clue as to where. There's a sign that says Exit 108A, Chattanooga Zoo. This tells us that at least this shot was taken on Interstate 24 in southern Tennessee. Interestingly though, a later shot shows the interior of a Peugeot vehicle. These have not been sold in the US since 1991. Either it was imported over or this video was taken elsewhere. The description of this video is intriguing. Night Ride of the Valkyries. It's the journey, not the destination, warts and all. Valkyries are another connection to death, as well as ghosts. In Norse mythology, Valkyries are figures that guide the souls of the dead to Odin's Hall in Valhalla. The terminology is also probably a reference to Ride of the Valkyries, a famous piece from Richard Wagner's opera The Valkyrie. We get more information in the next video. This was released on November 11th, which is odd as it's not the first of the month. The title decodes to 41-2. In the description, we see Mojibait code. This decrypts to Japanese, which translates to night drive changed. This seems very similar to the remastered idea that we've seen before, and this video must be related to the previous one. The actual footage is short, containing only 2 shots. There's a very prominent building that's visible with a pair of antennas. This is the AT&T building in Nashville, Tennessee, another telecommunications reference. It's even possible to pin down where exactly the video was taken. This was accomplished by our friend Squirra. Nashville is pretty close to Chattanooga, just a 2-hour drive. In fact, it's a straight shot along Interstate 24, the same highway that the motorcycle was riding on in Night Ride. It suggests that this is the route that it was taking. The next video was released on December 1st, 2024. It's called Key Loop. There is no description. We see an image of a nebula. Then a CGI key comes and opens it, revealing more space imagery behind it. The sequence repeats over and over for 5 minutes. Occasionally, we see a mermaid swimming on the right side. While this generally is a loop, there are slight deviations to the pattern. For example, at a minute 12, we spend an extra long time waiting for the next key. This happens again at 5:20. As the footage continues, the audio and video quality progressively deteriorates. By the end, it's little more than gray sludge. The next video is called Virality and was released on January 1st, 2025. The visuals show morphing red patterns, perhaps vaguely cellular, though it's hard to know for sure. The description confirms that this is the end of Phase 3. Season ended. Compared to the other phases, Phase 3 tends to be much more impressionist, with fewer codes in the videos and a less obvious story. There are some broader motifs, such as faces. We see a mask and visage, a helmet in Night Ride, the people in Phases of Faces. Other notable concepts include loops. Key loop contrasts with unclosed circuit. Physics ideas are seen as well, such as entanglement, waves, and strings. Yet, despite this, I find it difficult to produce an overall interpretation of Phase 3. There are certainly pieces to work with, but I couldn't find the clear connections that existed in Phases 1 and 2. And I honestly find this to be somewhat odd, especially since the information video seems to suggest that we should have to respond in some way. But I could find no emails, no commands, and even the radio control account remained silent. Perhaps the true tests were, in fact, physical, things in the world that I could not access remotely. Now, the story doesn't end here. The channel is still active in Phase 4. This phase has a clearer path forward than Phase 3, but we will tackle that in a future video. There are more things out there to find, and I highly encourage you to subscribe to Test Radio. The ending has not yet been written.